Morning. Basically, we're going to look at process flow diagrams, but I want to give you a little of background of why we're doing this. I don't know how many of you ever go to the ideas page on the Autodesk forums, but that's where I came up with this idea, plus a couple of support cases I've had recently. And like if you go to the ideas page, which is at the forums of Autodesk.com, you search for process flow diagrams, you'll find somebody put on here as a must-have is PFD process flow diagrams to be a part of Plant 3D, and they specifically are wanting to be able to connect them to the equipment on their P&IDs. I encourage you to be a part of the ideas page. Go out there and vote for things, because basically you sign in with your Autodesk account and then you select vote to vote, because this is the way you get Autodesk attention to hopefully add some of these things to the product at some point in the future. In the meantime, this is the way I do process flow diagrams with Plant 3D, and normally I don't connect my equipment up to the P&IDs, because usually when I do PFDs, I'm doing them before I ever even do my P&IDs. So, and they're usually done by the time I'm doing my P&IDs. So I usually don't worry about connecting the equipment up. But since I had support cases that were asking that, and that was one of the things they wanted on that particular idea, I decided to go ahead and make that a part of this, because everybody uses the product different and have different procedures, so why not? First thing I want to do is show you my P&IDs. Again, normally I would do my process flow diagrams first. We're doing them kind of in reverse on this particular project. I have both two P&IDs in the project. One of them, you can see, I'm using a horizontal centrifugal pump. I've got some tanks in here, and I've got a heat exchanger, which is basically a reboiler. So I'm going to use connect up to this same equipment. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out here before I go into the actual process flow diagram, I'm going to come over here and place a tank, which I don't have here, so I'll just make a copy of this. I don't want to mess up the one that I've got already in here, so I'll just make a copy of it. And one of the things in the P&ID with equipment you can do with P&IDs is you can have multiple graphical styles. So you can see here I've got a graphical style of this particular tank, which has an elliptical head, but that same tank I can change graphical styles, and I have a flat top version, so I can switch it back and forth. Now the nozzle, of course, didn't go with it when I did that, but that's okay. But I can switch it using these graphical styles to using the same tank to have different symbols or different styles of tanks within my P&IDs. So that is the system I'm going to use to do the PFDs, because what's important if you want to connect the equipment up is that the equipment is the same equipment, that you're not changing property classes or anything with the equipment. So let me go ahead and delete that out and close this one down. And the first thing we're going to do is, one of the things I prefer is I don't like to mix my P&IDs and my PFDs together. Now, I came from a company originally as a CAD manager where we did a whole lot of things with codes. So P&IDs were a 312 code. Process flow diagrams are 310 code, so that's I continue using that to this day. It helps me to keep, again, kind of like what that post said on the ideas page. They wanted the process flow diagrams to be above the P&IDs in their tree. So I use the folder to do that. So by making it a 3110. I can make it to where it'll appear above the 312s, because it's going to sort numerically and alphabetically. Another thing I'm going to do is I want to use a different title block. This is a D size title block for my P&IDs. I'm going to use a C size. So I have a template here with a C size title block that I'm going to set for this folder. Now I've got them in 2 separate folders, and that's also in Windows. If you looked at the project in Windows, there's 2 separate folders, and it's sorting with my PFDs ahead. Now, if you don't have some kind of numerical code, you could always use one for PFDs and 2 for P&IDs, or put a period before the PFDs to make it sort above any type of method like that. We'll create the new drawing. This will be a G drawing. And it's going to be a 310, and it's going to be sheet 1. I'll go ahead and put my initials in for the author, and you can see it's using the template that I set up for that folder. Excuse me. So we'll go ahead and create the drawing. And once the drawing is created and open, I'm going to go ahead and do what I always suggest first, is fill out that title block. So this is 001. It's going to be case 1 because I'm going to have multiple cases, and it's a process flow diagram. And we'll just put in some initials here to revision, so that way I get my title block filled out. I like to hit save so that the title block will update. And you can see here my title block's updated just like anything in any other drawing in a P&ID or an ortho, this being a C-size drawing. Now I made it case 1. We're going to do I'm going to do 2 cases, but I'm going to use the same drawing for both, because that's part of the problem, is the line numbering system. When you're doing pipes, you can't do multiple line numbers. So I have a system set up here where I'm going to be using a stream number as part of my tag that can be duplicated not only in the same drawing but in multiple drawings, and that's where the PFDs really start to click. And you'll see I've created myself a tool palette over here. Just right click, new palette. I've created one called PFD. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of fighting the cold here, so every now and then I'm having to mute to cough. So hold on one second. Okay. And in here I've already got some lines and a heat exchanger in here. We'll talk about those in a minute, how those were done. I knew you didn't want to sit here and watch me do everything step by step, so I'm just going to point at some of the things and have them pre-done because I needed to have the reports ready to go. That would take too long in a webinar here. So we'll go to the project setup, and we'll first talk about the primary piping and the secondary piping. All I did there was I created some lines under the pipeline segments. I called them PFD primary piping, PFD secondary piping. That way I would be able to differentiate very easily that these were different lines than my normal pipes. Now the ideal situation, and this is what that ideal was on the ideal page, would be for them to separate process flow diagrams from P&IDs completely. But since they can't right now, this method here allows me to keep, by just putting PFD before everything, I can recognize that's for a PFD, don't use it when I'm working on a regular P&ID. Now what I did was I needed some additional properties. So what I've added, you can see down here, is I added one called stream number. Stream number is the one I'm going to use for my tag. I did it here at the pipeline segment instead of the pipeline group, because if it's part of the pipeline group, it will work just like any other line number and it must be unique. By doing it at the pipeline segment level, I can duplicate it in multiple drawings. So that is the reason I did it. I put the stream number at this point. Now, I also did it at the pipeline segment so that it would be inherited by the other 2 PFD line types. Now, if I was only doing one line type for my entire PFD, I'd probably do this at the PFD level so that the other piping doesn't get that information. However, if I wanted to keep that out of the piping ones for the P&ID, I could just as easily go down here to primary line segment and take the stream number and say don't make it visible, and that would make it to where any of these P&ID ones wouldn't see it. I could do that with anything I was doing that was unique to P&IDs, but I'd have to remove them from it. In my case, I really don't care. I'm going to just leave them there because they sometimes will come in handy even on the P&ID side. In addition, I added pounds per hour, GPM, pH, H2O, salts, and NH3. And those were just so I could have them to be able to create tables and stuff and put the information into my process flow diagram, which we'll see later. Again, if I didn't want those in my regular piping, just uncheck them. But they have to be, since I'm doing it between two, both primary and secondary, they had to be visible at the pipeline segment level, so that they will show up in my reports correctly. So I had to make them visible there. So if I didn't want to see them in anything for P&ID, I could turn them off visible there and just leave them on for the PFD piping. Or if you think you may use those sometime in a P&ID, go ahead and leave them. It's not going to hurt anything. They are all just string properties. So I literally just said add, gave it a property name, a display name, and made it a string and hit OK. That's literally how I created every one of these. In addition, I created one more called service. This is still using the service from the pipeline group. I'm just acquiring it here at the service level. But notice I did make it to where it's not visible. The only reason it's there is because when I'm using Report Creator, I cannot pull information from the pipeline group into a line list of any type with the Report Creator. It won't allow you to do that. So in order to get the service over to my line list in my Report Creator, I had to create one in the line segment that's just basically acquiring the one from the pipeline group, and that way it'll be there for my reports. So that is what I set up custom property-wise. In addition, I created a PFD tag format. Now what that is basically it's doing two subparts. The first one being the pipeline group service, just like it would in the pipeline tag, and the second one being my stream number. That is what I'm going to use to assign tags on the process flow diagram. Of course, the pipeline tag one is using the line number from the pipeline group, which has to be unique. So this keeps me from having to do that. Normally, I probably would just leave it there. I created it by just going to the little select class properties. I selected the target object and that stream number that I had created earlier. In addition to that, though, to make it just a little more functionality-wise good for me, I added in here an auto-generation expression that's using the last stream number. I created right here a last stream number that would start with the value of 0 and increment by 1, and I made this an auto-generated number. That way, when I draw my piping in my process flow diagram, it's just automatically attaching the stream number as I draw, and I don't have to go through and change it if I don't want to. That works great as long as I draw in the sequence I want to. I can at any time change that, though. I don't have to always use that auto-generated number. I can change it on the fly when I'm assigning the tag. But I went ahead and did that additionally just to show you a little more type things you can do with it. In addition to the PFD tag format, I created a PFD tag for the annotation. Now look at this one. Once it decides to open up, basically I started with the PFD line number 1, but I changed it using the assigned format to get the stream number the same way I did it on the other one. I changed that to get the stream number just to show you I can, because I normally wouldn't do this either in my real life. I added the pipeline group service below it so that I could show the service below my stream number. And lastly, I added this one attribute up here set to the target object tag. Now I made this one very small, and I also made it an invisible attribute. The only reason I did that You know, when you're assigning tags and you've got the option to place the tag at the time of assignment, that will only show a list of the ones that have this target object tag in there. So that's only going to show a list of the ones that show the target object tag. Because of that, so that it would allow me to tag it as I assign the tag, I place that attribute in there so it would work. Without it, I would have to use a separate. Yeah, okay, can you hear me now? Because I got muted there for a minute, it said. So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right, just making sure. All right, so the target object tag is literally in there just to make it work when I'm assigning tag, and I'll point that out again also. But again, I just made it an invisible attribute, so it'll get populated, won't see it on my drawing. We'll go ahead and close that out. The next thing I did is on my primary PFD, primary piping, and my secondary, I set my tag format to PFD tag and my annotation style to the PFD tag on the annotation. So I set those two, so that way it automatically on both the primary and the secondary, it'll use that tag format instead of the pipeline tag. And when I go to tag my assign the tags, it'll give me the PFD tag as my default option. Everything else is still set up like it was previously, to where it's using my P&ID primary line segments using the pipeline tag and the pipeline tag annotation. So everything that's outside of my PFD line types are using the pipeline tag, while these are using the PFD tags that I just created. So those I created ahead of time of this, but they were created no different than you would any other tag, both format and annotation wise, and I kind of walked you through that a little bit too. So that's kind of the background stuff I did to create this primary piping and secondary piping. So let's do the equipment. We'll actually add some equipment here. As you can see, I've got the heat exchanger already added, and that was added to the TEMA type BKU, because if you remember when I showed you the P&ID, it's the symbol I was using. So I just added an additional symbol here for the PFD heat exchanger for that one. I did it the exact same way as the pump that I'm about to do. So the way that was done, we'll go down here to the pumps. In my P&ID, I am using a horizontal centrifugal pump. So you can recognize that probably from that P&ID, and you can see there's only one symbol assigned to it. So we're going to assign a brand new symbol just for process flow diagrams to this pump so that they can be connected up, both process flow and P&ID wise. So I hit add symbols. I'm going to go, and I've got a drawing here called PFD library that I'm going to pull from. This is an AutoCAD drawing. It was not created with Plant 3D. It's just regular vanilla dumb AutoCAD blocks. I'll hit open, and you can see there's that heat exchanger I used to create that one. It was also in that drawing. I'm going to grab the pump, add it, and then say next. And here I just need to give it a name. It is taking on all the same property sets that were already set in this pump. So everything's identical, it's just a different symbol. There's nothing here I want to change because I want it to use the same layer, the same nozzles, everything. So I'm just going to say finish. That one's done. We'll add it to our tool palette. To show you that I don't have to reinvent the wheel, I'm going to use the tank that was used in the P&ID. So when I come over here to the cone bottom tank, you can see there's that cone bottom tank, there's that flat top. Remember, I was changing between the two, so those two were added right here. So I'm going to add a third graphical style. We'll say add symbols. Since that, I'm going to use that flat top tank as my normal tank, cone bottom tank in my PFDs. I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, so I'm going to go grab my PSS file, my project symbol style drawing, and open it up. Come down here, there's my cone bottom tank and my cone bottom flat one. I'm going to grab the flat top, hit add, hit next. so that I will keep up that this is a process flow diagram cone bottom tank. I'll put PFD before it, cone bottom tank. Now this one again adapted all the information from the existing ones. I do want to make a couple of changes. This is a C size drawing, not a D size. So I want my scale symbol to be smaller. I'm going to make it 3/4 of the size. So I'm going to have it automatically scale it 3/4 down. On the auto nozzle, you see yes, and it's using a flange nozzle styles. I don't want to show nozzles on my PFD, so I'm going to change that to assumed nozzle style. And that will be just for this one only. Now, the heat exchanger, the one thing I did do different on is I added a rotation on the insert to the heat exchanger so that I could rotate it when I insert it 90 degrees if I wanted to. So I added that capability. Outside of that, this is exactly like I want it with those two changes. We'll hit finish and we'll add that to the tool palette. So that's the way I get my equipment in there. It can be from AutoCAD, it can be existing symbols already in P&ID, and you can make them to where they can react differently and work differently than they do on the P&ID side so that you can use them on your PFD side. I've got one more symbol I'm going to add before we start showing you how it works drawing-wise, and that's a connector. It's basically going to be an off-page connector. And I want it to work like an off-page connector, but I'm not going to actually connect it up to drawing because it's going to be for this drawing only. But to create that, I'm going to create a new connector. I'm going to call this one my PFD stream arrow. I like the display to have some spaces. So PFD stream arrow, we'll hit OK. I'm going to add the symbol, which I'm going to use that same AutoCAD drawing I was using with the pump and the heat exchanger. And in there I've got a block for my stream arrow. And we're going to just call this one symbol name PFD stream arrow. Now because this one wasn't copying another one, it took all defaults here, so I'm going to set it up to go on the annotation layer. Just like the other connectors, I'm basically setting it up the same way, by layer color and by block line type, and then I'll just use the defaults for everything else. But that way this one is set up and ready to go. But I want to make some changes to the block itself. So we'll hit edit block. Now on this one, again, that was the original attribute from AutoCAD, so it isn't going to give me anything. So I'm going to assign the format here. I wasn't sure if I guess I had it picked beforehand, didn't I? Now it's not wanting to pick. Let me try that again. Assign format. There we go. All right, so this one I'm going to assign not to the target object because I'm going to assign this to the service of the pipeline group because that's where service is. And we'll assign it that way. And then I don't need the delimiter. It defaults to the delimiter of the tag name from AutoCAD, so I'll take that out. So I'm just assigning that one to the pipeline group service so that when I attach it to the pipeline, it'll pull in the service information so that it will flip with the lines the same way any other OPC would. I'm going to add the 2 points that it needs, the first one being 0, 0. I'll just place it like that. And the second one on the endpoint. But for it to work, it has to have a specific name of attachment point 1 and 2. So we'll take this one. Attachment point 1 needs to be the one at 0, 0. Attachment point 1. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard and then come over here, and this one will be pasted in and changed to attachment point 2. So attachment point 1, attachment point 2, got my service in there. This will act just like any other OPC. I'm just not going to connect it up to any other drawings. So we'll save those changes, and then I'm going to add that to my tool palette. So basically that's all I'm having to do in the project itself to get this to work the way I want to. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. I personally do not like the on my tool palette to see PFD because I already know it's a PFD from the tool palette, so this is just a personal OCD preference. I take out the PFD here, and then I'll put them in the places where I want them on the tool palette. So we'll put pump up here, cone bottom tank, and there's my tool palette the way I want it. So using this to draw, we'll start with the equipment. The first rule of thumb here, to connect it to the equipment on the P&ID, or any other drawing for that matter, the drawing has to be open. So I'm going to come over here to sheet 1 of my P&ID and open it. And then I'm going to come back to my PFD. I'll place the pump. I'm just going to eyeball it in about right there. There's my pumps that are in that PFD. I'm only going to do P1100. And I'm going to go ahead and place my annotation of equipment tag. And when I say assign, it tells me I need to either enter a different tag because it already exists, or I can assign this tag to the selected component. That's where I'm connecting it to the P&ID, a piece of equipment. So I'm going to assign it, hit OK, place my tag right below it. So as far as the software is concerned, that is the same pump that's in my P&ID. We'll go ahead and throw in the tank. I'll make it tank 1400 here, assign it to the same piece of equipment, and then I can place it right there. And lastly, we'll place the heat exchanger. We're going to put it about right here. And this one, I told you I added the rotation capability, so I'm going to go ahead and rotate it up and down in that 90. And we'll grab 2100, and I get this message here. The reason I got that message is because that heat exchanger is on sheet 2. I don't have sheet 2 open, so it will not let me give it the same tag because of that. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and open up P&ID sheet 2. I don't have to have sheet 1 open at this time. I just left it open. And now I can assign to the heat exchanger that same number, and I get that dialog box where I can assign it to the same component. So now all my equipment is set up to match what's in my P&ID. I know it's the same because, for instance, if I came to this one and went to the project properties, see how this one is process tower number 15 or 1, I'm going to make it number 15. If I then come over here to sheet 1 of my P&ID, it changed it to process tower number 15. Here on sheet 1, I can come in here. Whoops, missed it. Oh yeah, it's in that. It's in bottle space. I can come back here. I'll change it back to process tower number 1. Back in my P&ID or PFD, it's been changed to process tower number 1. So it's passing the same information back and forth between the equipment because they're one and the same in the database. Totally different symbols. This is completely different symbols than what I'm using on the P&ID, but yet it understands they're the same piece of equipment. Let's draw some piping in here. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Now notice, I don't know if you noticed when I was creating this, there is a node right in the middle, a point right in the middle of that pump. That's there so I can connect to it because I want this to come right to that node. If the node wasn't there, I would never get a connection onto that pump. It would give me the plus symbol when I selected the line. But because the node is there, I was able to connect to the pump. So that's the reason I had that node there. We'll go ahead and come off here. Just draw it up like this, and we'll connect to the tank. And then I'm going to connect these up real quick so we can show you how the assigning of the tags works. So just drawing it, getting everything connected up. I'm only going to have 6 lines here, don't worry. Won't take but a second here. There, we got that one connected up, and then I'll go ahead and put a secondary here coming into the heat exchanger, and we'll pull off of it at the bottom with another line. So at this point, just like I would with the P&IDs, I can start assigning the tags. So I'm going to assign it just like I would on the P&IDs. Notice my stream number is already 1. That's because I had set it up with an auto generation. I could change it at this point if I wanted to. I don't want to. I drew them in the sequence I wanted. Notice the PFT tag right here for my annotation style is my default, and it's available. Again, that happened because I had that one invisible attribute in there, which allowed it to be in this list. Without it, I would have had to go and do a separate annotation using the annotate command. But now I can just place it in there, and there's my tag, stream 1. It's process water. I'll go ahead and tag these up. This one's also process water. It's stream 2. And to show you that the number is coming by the sequence I drew it in, not by the sequence I'm tagging it, you can see this one, which is going to be low pressure steam, is string number 5 because that was the 5th line I drew. We'll go ahead and make this one my steam condensate. And then my last number 3 up here, that's my vapor. We'll just place it right there, and this will be my tempered water return. So I've got everything just like I would on the P&ID side tagged using that stream number instead. What that allows me to do is duplicates. If I came in here on this one, I could say this one's going to be 5, which is not low pressure steam. It would let me do that because it's not using one that has to be unique. It's using one that can be that can be duplicated over and over again, which I'll show you that reason in a minute. Lastly, to finish this up, I'm just going to pop on my stream arrow on all 3, and you can see it's flipping with it. Personally, I don't like the arrows right here, so I'm going to take a couple of these out. And you can see, put in my stream arrow, I get the off-page connector not connected. I'm just going to ignore that because I'm never going to connect those up to drawings. They're just strictly for the process flow diagram. But by making them off-page connectors, it allowed them to flip with the stream the way I wanted it to, with the flow of the pipe. So that got my drawing connected up here for the case itself. So let's take this a step further. I need a case 2, a case 3, case 4, case 5. I'm just going to create a case 2. I'm not going to bother. So over here on the Windows side, we'll go. I could have swore. Oh, I'm not on my drawing. That's why. Caught me off guard there for a minute. All right, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to rename this one to sheet 2. I'm only going to do 1 case because I know you don't want to sit here and watch me do 5 of them. And then we'll copy and add that drawing to the project. So it's going to add it to the project. I can then open it up after I put the drawing properties in so that I can tell the difference. This is sheet 2 and case 2. So now I've created 2 different ones that are process flow diagrams. They're identical. There is a review later, and the reason for that, or review now, the reason for that is because it recognizes I've got equipment in here that's duplicates. This is the downside of it not being a separate part of P&ID. For the equipment to connect up, I'm going to have to reattach these to the originals, but watch what happens. I get that same message, even though I have sheet 1 and 2 of the P&ID open. You have to have every drawing that piece of equipment is on in the P&IDs, which includes my first PFD. So I opened up my first PFD. Now on sheet 2, I can assign the tag, the exact same one, and connect it up. So that's the downside, is you do have to have every drawing that's in the P&ID section, which includes my process flow diagrams. You have to have all of them open in order to assign those tags the same if you want the equipment to be the same. But it's not that difficult once you've done that. At that point, I don't need these drawings open anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and close them. Didn't even bother saving them. Whoops, that's the one I'm in. Did not bother saving it because didn't really make any changes to it. They just had to be open in order to get those pieces the same. But that way I've got the same stream numbers, the same equipment, and both PFDs connected to the P&IDs. Now you cannot connect the pipelines to the P&IDs, but you can connect the equipment. So what I want to do now is I want to get this data that, you know, all those property sets I filled out, I want to get those all filled out as quickly as possible. So I'm going to do an export. But what I've done is I've created a report inside the data manager. So let's go take a look at that real quick. Inside the data manager, under reports, I've created a process flow diagram report. Now this one was created originally by taking the line list, I hit new, and then I named it the process flow diagram. I put an in front of it so all my custom reports go to the top. So I started with that one, just gave it a new report name, and then I started changing what I wanted to see in that report. In this particular case, I'm going to add a couple of things and remove something, but you can see I don't have a stream number in it. I don't have the service. I come over here, I've got a description, but it's the pipeline description, and I want the drawing description. So I'm going to modify this one. But you can see I also already put in all those new ones I created, except for those couple that I was just talking about. So from here, I am going to go to the pipeline segments, and that's the pipeline description here that I don't want. So I'm going to take it out. I want to add my stream number. I also want the service, so I'm going to grab that from the pipeline group. And then on the drawing itself, I want the drawing description, so I'm going to add that one. Over here, it's going top to bottom, that is left to right in my table. So I want the stream number to be first, so I'm going to take it and move it up to the top. Then I'm going to take the service and move it up to right below stream number. I'll probably overshoot it and come back one. Then I'm going to take the description and move it right above the drawing title. But you can see here where I added the pounds per hour, GPM, the operating temperature, pressure, pH, H2O, salt, N3. So the operating temperature and pressure were already there. The others are all the new ones. I just added them the same way I just did the other ones, put them in the place where I want them. We'll hit OK, and that got the table created the way I want it. So we'll go ahead and hit OK, and let's show how it works. So here, I'm going to open up my data manager. I'm going to change this to my project reports and the process flow diagram, and as you can see, it's showing me all P&IDs at this point. That's why I wanted that drawing description in there, because all my process flow diagrams have a drawing description, a process flow diagram. So I could just filter by that. And now I'm looking at just the streams that are in my process flow diagram. And you can see at this point I could fill out the columns the same way I do anything else. Or if I wanted to look at a particular case, I could filter by that case. That's the only reason I have description and drawing title down here, so I can filter it. That's just right-clicking on it. So I could fill out this information that I want in my tables. To speed that up, I'm going to do an export. So I'm going to export this to Excel. And plus, I'll get to show you something you may not know you could do in Excel with these exports. So right here, when I open up this spreadsheet where I exported out everything, you can see everything that was in that table's been that report's been exported here. Notice my stream numbers are in order for case 1, but in case 2 they kind of got boggled. Not sure why it does that. That happened during the copy add. But I also can't sort this particular Excel sheet because of the protected columns here. So for instance, this one here you can see is protected. It wouldn't let me delete it. That one's protected. Got to keep in mind which ones are protected, because the ones that are protected you don't want to change. Those are being managed there. But I can unprotect this sheet by coming over to Format and doing Unprotect Sheet. Now I could literally delete that, but if I do, it'll never import back in. So again, don't ever change the protected ones. But because I protected that sheet, I can now do a sort here. And I've got data headers. I'm going to sort by the case number, which is my drawing title. And then I'm going to add another level to sort by my stream number. And so now everything, case one's all together, case two's all together, and they're in sequence stream number wise. So that you don't have to sit and watch me type. I've got a file here that I'm just going to copy and paste in to fill in all my data. Those were not protected fields that I could actually add information to. So with that, I'm going to save my Excel sheet. I've filled in a bunch of data, and you can import it back in at will at that point. Now, I used to work with an engineer who loved Excel sheets, so this is the way we would export everything to him, and then he would set and make all his changes, and then we would, from his calculations, and then we just import the Excel sheet back in the same way I just did. I just hit import, brought it in, and then I hit accept all. So right now what it's doing is going and adding all that data that I just accepted. But here's the beauty of it. This report here is great for exporting, importing. But to get a good report for other people, I'm going to use a report creator. There's not enough time in this particular webinar to be able to show you how to create custom reports here. We do that in our P&ID advanced class. We also do custom reports in our Plant 3D, but the one in the P&ID advanced, Plant 3D advanced. But the one in the P&ID advanced class is more similar to what we're doing right here. So you may want to look into taking that class if you want to see how to create the reports like this. But here I've got, I picked my project. Here's some custom reports I've got. Here's one called Process Flow Diagram. I'm going to go to Drawing Data. This is why I did the two folders, because here I can just say I only want reports on my PFDs. So I just select that folder. It highlights 50 of them if they're in there. Everything that's in that folder would be in a report. We'll preview this one. I get a nice report that's basically showing all the information. I do this all the time. All right, notice how my information is blank. That's because you can't create a report when you brought in the data unless you've saved your drawings. I brought the data in, I didn't save the drawings, so it's looking at the data of the drawings before the report. There we go. So I went and saved my drawings. Now I've got a report of case one. I go to my second sheet. I've got a report of case two, so you can do some type of comparison. These can be put out when I do the print export. It created a single PDF file, which basically looks like the two we just previewed. So we'll go to Treadstone Reports, and there's my two reports in a PDF file that I can print out and give the engineers for information. Now, I like my reports, these tables, to be on my process flow diagrams. That's something I'm used to doing. So this is what I would call one of Rick's tricks. What I've done is I've created a report here called PFD case. If you preview it, you can see it is nothing more than the table itself. And that's all it is. You can't even tell which case it is. I could by the page down here, but it's just the table itself. When I print this one, it created two different PDF files, one for case one for case two. And if you look at them, they are, again, identical. They're just the table itself. But here's the trick part. We're going to come back in here. I'm going to go to the Insert tab. And there's a command in AutoCAD, not Plant 3D, but it's part of Plant 3D because AutoCAD's a part of it. PDF import. I'm going to grab it. We'll grab case one. I'm in sheet one, which is case one. Hit open. I'm going to take all the defaults here. The only two things that are not default out of the box is I checked the specify insertion point on screen, and I did import as a block, and I did that to make it easier to erase when I wanted to update it. So those are the only two things I changed from out of the box. We'll hit OK. It wants to place this based on the bottom left of an 8.5 by 11 PDF sheet. So we'll place it like that. And there's my table. We'll do the same thing here for sheet 2. PDF import, grab case 2, hit open. So I'm using the report that I created combined with the PDF import, and I get a nice looking table. But you can see they're two different tables. See the pressure class there is 2, pressure class here is 1, or the pressure in that one is 1. So I've got two different tables, each for two different cases. I get them in here. Something changes in the database. I just rerun the reports, erase this block, and do another PDF import. Simple as that. And always that way I always have the correct table in my drawing itself. So it's a kind of a nice way of getting a table in here without having to create a table or anything. Once it's created in that report, I can import it in, make a nice little table that I'm going to use for information in my drawing itself. So that's the way I do process flow diagrams. It's not that difficult. The key is just setting up those properties and setting up the line numbers to where I can assign tags that are not unique for the project but are unique on this drawing, guys. I don't have any duplicates, and that way they correspond to my table that I created. Let me go ahead and open that up. So basically that concludes our webinar. But Brett, are there any questions that I need to address?
Rick, there are no questions.
Wow. 2 webinars in a row with no questions. We'll give everybody just a second here, just in case somebody has a question that we might need to answer. We won't abandon them too quickly. So if you have a question, there's a question box down in there. I've got to thank you. But anybody have a question, we'll give you just a few more seconds here to speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, we are going to assume that everybody enjoyed this. I hope you did. There'll be a survey at the end to fill out, but I'll turn it back over to Ashley so that she can give you the odds and outs on that.
Okay, thank you, Rick, for the presentation. This will conclude our broadcast. If you think of additional questions later, you can simply reply to the GoToWebinar reminder or confirmation email you received from them, and we'll receive those and get those to Rick or your sales rep to get your questions answered. Once again, if you could take a few moments to fill out the short survey, we would appreciate it. It will just automatically appear as we close down the session today. Thanks for attending and have a great day, everybody.